host Jay Felicio. I go by GMenJ on Twitter. Tonight, as always, with me is my co-host Dan Turner. Goes by Eagle Dan FF on Twitter. What's going on?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. And tonight we've got a very special guest. You've seen him hosting Family Feud and on the Steve Harvey Show. No, I'm just messing with you, Troy. One of my most recent close friends on Twitter. I know everybody. If you're in the fantasy football community, you've seen this guy. It's Troy King. Goes by T King Mode on Twitter. What's going on, man? Thanks for joining us.
No, man, I appreciate you guys having me. What's up, y'all? I'm excited to be here. Oof, man, I'm ready to talk some football. I had a long day.
Yes, sir. So tell us a little bit where we can find you, any shows or any where you write, and just give us a little something about yourself.
Sure. So I was a writer of Dynasty Happy Hour. Unfortunately, the site is no longer going to be posting articles, but there's a great group of guys, so I appreciate my experience there. But I am the co-host of Fantasy Football Confidential. Our shows are on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Wednesday, we stream to Periscope and YouTube, so check us out. We have a great time. It's me, Linda G, John Bauer, Mitch Sorensen. And we talk about fantasy football, but we get into other issues too. Like we get into sometimes race. We talk about women in the industry, things like that. So not just like basic fantasy football stuff. We like to be different. We like to switch it up. So It's always a good time. You know, we're wild. I'll say sometimes.
I've watched the show. I've watched before. It's definitely a good time. So if you haven't checked it out,
I appreciate it, man. But
no.
Thank you.
Well, cool. Well, so we're going to change up the format a little bit here. Previously, what we've done is we've gone through our articles a little in depth, and then we've went with your questions at the end. We're going to swap it up. We're going to go over a little bit of the news and notes of the week, and then we're going to jump right into questions. So first, let's talk about the Titans COVID situation. And we just saw right before we went online that it looks like the game is going to be played on Tuesday if there's no more positive tests. I, for one, doubt that's even going to happen. You know, it sounds like I don't think it's been confirmed, but it looks like they were holding unsanctioned practices when they were told not to. I hate to say it, but you really can't completely continue to shuffle the schedule when they're the ones that are breaking protocol. I think that the NFL wants to get the games in, but they also know fantasy is a big part of what they have. So they're in this tough situation. I don't know what's going to happen. What do you guys think? Troy, we'll go with you.
Man, I have my doubts about the game. You know, since last week we had to deal with the same fiasco. It's just every day I feel we're getting a report that another player has gotten COVID. So I don't know. Like I feel like the NFL has done as good of a job as they could in terms of shuffling the schedule, but moving it to Tuesday, I think they're being very hopeful. The fact, I don't know how they're going to have players not test positive for COVID within the next couple of days into Tuesday. Everything got to be perfect. So literally, that's the best case scenario. Every single day from now until, Tuesday, it got to be negative tests. And I just don't see that happening. I mean, I don't know what the heck the Titans players were doing at practice where everyone got infected. I don't know, that sleepover. I don't know what's going on, but I have my doubts as well.
I got to give a quick shout out. What's up, Joey P? Thanks for tuning in, man.
What's up?
And we do have a question from Scott Neal Laster. Allen Robinson or Mike Evans, full PPR? Dan, we'll go with you first. What do you think?
I think that if Evans is able to play,
he is active. I saw before.
Yeah, so I would go with Evans, especially with Godwin hurt. I think, especially in the red zone, he's one of Brady's favorite targets. So he definitely has that TD upside. And I don't know how well Foles is going to play tonight. He could be either superhuman Super Bowl Foles or awful Foles. So I'd feel better sticking with Mike Evans.
Troy, what you think?
I think if every quarter was the fourth quarter, I would go with Allen Robinson. But since it's not the case, even if Mike Evans is a little bit banged up, I'm going to go with Mike Evans for all the reasons that Dan said. It makes me nervous, his injury, but at the same time, he's been scoring. There's not many options left. So it's really going to just be him and Scott Miller in the passing game. So I'm going to go with Evans as well.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think that, granted, the only way that Chicago is going to win this game is by throwing the ball, but you can't depend on garbage time. Other than that last drive, Allen Robinson didn't do much of anything last week, and I was watching that game close because that last garbage time touchdown cost me my win this week, so that hurt. But even a hobbled Mike Evans is going to get some red zone looks, and I think you got to go with that. So we do have a couple more questions. Let's jump into that. We got one for my guy Marty. Standard, Rojo or Kelly? Corey, what you think?
I'm going with Rojo, man. I know everyone wants to hate on Rojo, but I saw that Leonard Fournette is active, but he's been listed as doubtful. I don't trust players that are listed as doubtful and that are playing, so I don't know what his workload is going to be. I feel like they have to rely on Rojo, and I also expect him to be up a lot this game. Kelly, we're going to talk about him later, but I just feel that he's going to be splitting with Jackson. He hasn't really looked good the past couple of weeks. Honestly, he hasn't had that big of a workload, so I'm a little bit nervous about Kelly. So give me Rojo. I know it wants to hate on him, but I'm gonna go Rojo.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Troy there. We don't know how Kelly is going to deal with having a bigger workload in the NFL. I mean, he's had some past couple of weeks where he's had some reduced workloads and hasn't done much with it. So, and we don't know how Justin Jackson's going to factor in. I think with Rojo getting the majority of the carries last week, seems to be kind of the starter there in Tampa. I mean, they do have Keyshawn Vaughn there, but I don't know how much he's going to be involved. So I would definitely go Rojo.
I'm going to go with Kelly, and the simple thing is he's going to get the value. He was already, everybody knows I'm a big Josh Kelly fan, but he was already getting the volume at 40%, even with Eckler in the backfield. He had 2 games at double-digit points, and I think he would have done better. Caveat, and we'll talk about this later. We're going to discuss that backfield, but as long as he's able to hold on to the ball. If he continues to fumble, then he's going to get benched. But he's had 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons at UCLA, so he's able to carry the load. So with Rojo, he could go off, or Leonard Fournette's available. Granted he's a bum, but if he takes away a goal line carry, that could be the difference for you. So for me, I'm going to go with Kelly over Rojo. We got a question from Joe Pisapia, author of the Fantasy Black Book. He's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy, and he's got a question for us. Ravens backfield rest of the season. Who's your money on? He's hitching his wagon to the Gus bus. What are we thinking, guys?
Is none an option? Can I just go with none? Seriously, Gus Edwards is ruining my life. Like why are you giving the ball to Gus Edwards when you draft J.K. Dobbins? Like why? And why is the corpse of Mark Ingram getting the majority of the carries here? I don't understand. And then you have Lamar Jackson stealing the goal line carries and getting 45-yard touchdown runs, and it's just I don't want any of them.
If you put Gus Edwards on just about any other team, man, like you put him in San Francisco or you put him in at the Chargers, I mean, he produced. He's got. I don't know exactly what his. Luke Markworth said 6 yards per carry. He's like you said, it's a fantasy nightmare. It's a good problem to have for Baltimore. Fantasy wise, I'm staying away until they start to clear out a little bit.
If Edwards was that good, they wouldn't have drafted Dobbins. If Edwards was that good, they wouldn't have drafted Dobbins.
Troy, what you think?
It's such a gross question. But it's a great question at the same time. To be honest, Gus Bus has looked the best out of all the running backs. I'm a J.K. Dobbins guy, but you just look on the field, he looks like the best running back. And going into the season, I thought that it was going to be Mark Ingram. I thought it was still going to be his backfield, but he looks like a 30-year-old running back. He's not impressive. So then I was hoping that was going to mean, good things for Dobbins, but they're not using Dobbins the way, not in a huge workload. He's been catching passes. He's been their passing downs back, but Gus Bus has looked the best. So, and like Joe was saying, like 6 yards per carry, like, you know what? I gotta go with the legend, Joe, man. It gotta be Gus Bus. I hate saying that. It's weird saying that, but it's hard to deny what you see on the field.
Yep, and I think that if they ever decide to scale back Mark Ingram's touches and they go more of giving the backfield to Dobbins and Gus Edwards, I could see them both being flex worthy. There's no denying Dobbins has the most upside, but right now, like you said, Gus is producing better than anybody else. So if I had to choose right now, I would say Gus. Long term, Dobbins. But so we will. We do have some previously submitted questions on Twitter from Ben Smith at OriginalBen1981 for this week. Full PPR: CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Boyd, or DJ Chark. What do you think, Dan?
I'm going to go with Lamb. I think that Lamb has the much better game. He's facing the Giants, and the Giants' defense is absolutely atrocious, as you know.
Can confirm they are terrible.
So I think this is a no-brainer. I think he's going up the pecking order in Dallas. He's probably target share-wise better than Gallup now. So for me, this is a no-brainer. It's Lamb.
I'm going to be contrarian. I feel that Lamb might be the easy answer, but I'm going to go with Chark. I'm going to go with Chark again. They're playing Houston. So, you know what? I feel like Chark had a really good game last week. I believe he had 2 touchdowns. So I just feel that we've seen Jacksonville without Chark on the field. They're awful. They're terrible. So they know that they need to give the ball to Chark. He's obviously a red zone threat. So for me, because he's clearly their alpha, CeeDee Lamb is great. I love CeeDee Lamb. But you know what? This week, it could be a Michael Gallup game. Who knows? Obviously, he's been kind of losing target share, but I would not be surprised if Michael Gallup just happens to have a good game. But you know what? Give me Chark. I just feel I think that we're going to see something special. He's healthy. He looks good. I'm going to go Chark.
As much as I hate to agree with Dan, I am going to go with CeeDee Lamb for a couple different reasons. And trust me, this hurts to say this. There are 3 teams that I despise in sports: Dallas Cowboys, the Boston Red Sox, and the Carolina Tar Heels. I hate all 3 of them with a passion, but there's no denying how good that offense is. They're one of the best in the NFL. They also have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. So, the Giants are going to be able to score somewhat at more than 1 touchdown a game that they've been doing. But in these rivalry games, they're not afraid to keep the gas going and stomp on their throats. And I think that Dallas is going to slaughter the Giants, and I just think that CeeDee Lamb's going to go off. Jerry's going to want to see that number 88 scoring a few touchdowns. And as much as I love Gardner Minshew, he can pull a Ryan Fitzpatrick and just, as soon as you expect him to, you start to trust him, and then he falls flat on his face. So I like Gardner Minshew. I think he's going to be fine, but there's a lot less risk with Dak than there is with Gardner Minshew.
I just want to point out how awful that triple threat was for you. You, 1, agree with me. 2, said the Giants were awful. And 3, complimented Dallas. How do you feel right now?
I'm going to actually go ahead and let you guys finish the rest of the show. So I'm going to go cry myself to sleep.
I got you, man.
I appreciate it. So Troy's going to host the rest of the show for us. No, just play.
Finally, a good host.
Yeah. All right. So next question was from Hassan Jafar. At Hassan Jafar 89, streaming QB this week: Herbert, Bridgewater, Cousins, or Minshew? We'll start with you on this one, Troy.
Okay, not Minshew. I would say not Cousins. It's between Herbert and Teddy B for me. I feel that Teddy has the best matchup, but give me Herbert. I know they go in against the Saints defense, but I just love what he's done, and they stealing all of my material for later. But I've been so impressed with Herbert. Honestly, when he got drafted, I'm like, man, this guy's trash. I think he's garbage. But you know what?
Yeah, man,
he's really
impressed.
He's been so impressive, and I feel like the Saints are going to be up this game, so I feel like Herbert's going to have to throw to catch up, and he's shown it. He's not afraid to sling the ball. So I just feel like he's going to force feed Keenan Allen. I think he's going to chuck it. And also, he hasn't done much with his legs, but he has been adding some rushing yards every single game. It hasn't been much, but it's been something. So I'll add
like 57% target share since he's taken over. Just ridiculous. I think that was the total.
But
So
yeah, I'm
what do you think, Dan? Who are you going to go with?
It was between Herbert and Bridgewater for me too, but I'm going to go with Bridgewater. I think
Would you stop stealing my answers, Dan?
no,
I don't
no,
want to
I'm
agree
not.
with you.
And you should go first. I think that Bridgewater, with the resurrection, I guess, of Robbie Anderson, it just has too many weapons. I think that he's going against the Falcons, whose defense isn't the greatest. So I think for this week, it's Teddy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Teddy B for a couple reasons. The Falcons rank second to last in points given up and total passing yards, and they're ranking. They give up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Teddy B is just coming off his best game as a Panther, and I think he's going to keep it going. You know, he's got two weapons with Robbie Anderson, as our fearless leader Jeff said, of the Jets, but Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore still can turn it on. Mike Davis has been very productive out of the backfield. He can catch the ball. So I think, and you'll see later when we get to our bold predictions, I think Teddy B is going to have a great week, and I'm starting him over Wentz in one league, and anywhere I have him, I'm not afraid to fire up Teddy B this week. So we do have a question from Twitch. B Shifties, Darrell Henderson or Malcolm Brown this week? Who should I start? That is a very good question. Dan, what are you thinking?
This is hard.
It is, especially with Akers coming back this week too.
Yeah. The matchup's good. They're facing Washington. I go Henderson. I just think
I think I would too.
Just honestly, because he's just more talented. That's really the only. He does more, per carry. Than
Brown has just seemed more like just a warm body that getting the touches. He can get some production, but nothing special. Henderson has that potential to have a blow up where I
think per touch. Excuse me. Henderson's just better than Brown, but that is a difficult question, especially with Akers coming back, like you said.
I would say that I agree that Henderson is better than Brown, but the Rams obviously do not care what I think, because I played Henderson last week thinking, I'm like, okay, after his big game, I'm like, all right, Henderson got this. And all of a sudden, it was the Malcolm Brown show again. It's like they take turns. They take turns each week. So if I was going based off the taking turns thing, it should be Henderson. But I'm going to go with Malcolm Brown, not because I want to, just because of what I've seen in terms of his usage. He had a big week one. Last game, he had way more rushing attempts than Henderson. I don't know if Henderson was hurt. I don't know the reasoning behind that coaching decision. Sean McVay don't give a damn about us. So I don't think Malcolm Brown is that good. But you know what? I think that for some reason they love him and they're going to use him. He's just a jack. He's just an average guy. But I think he's going to be in there when we don't want him to be in there. So I'm going to go Malcolm Brown.
All right. Well, we got 2-1 with Darrell Henderson, and hopefully we helped you out.
I'm disagreeing with Sean on everything.
I know, and the thing is I respect your opinion more than I respect Dan's opinion, but somehow we always wind up agreeing. So, no, I'm just messing with Dan. I like to give him a hard time. We got one from my guy Marty Smith. Is Mooney or Anthony Miller worth starting tonight?
It's a hard question.
I know. We got a tough question today. I like it.
Mooney.
Welcome, Be Shifties, and appreciate you tuning in. And any more questions, feel free. I would go with Mooney, and he's actually, spoiler alert, he's my sleeper for tonight. I feel like Anthony Miller's that guy, like you hear just every year that, it's going to be his year. He's a sleeper. He's the guy, and just never shows up and doesn't, he'll have a solid game here or there, but it feel like it never materializes. Mooney's got a higher snap count, and he's out targeting Anthony Miller the past two games. And that just so happens to be since Nick Foles taking over. So I think if I had to choose between those two, I think Mooney is a decent sleeper if you're hurting for buys or dealing with whatever's going on with COVID, whether the Titans play, if they don't play, or who knows what's going to happen. But, yeah, you could definitely do worse. It'd have to be a deeper league. But between those two, I don't mind Mooney. What you think, Dan?
I'm going to have to agree, unfortunately. I think
end the show.
It just says something that Miller's already getting outplayed by a rookie 4 games in. I mean, you made some really good points. He's already out targeting him. He has more catches.
Hold on. Could you say that again?
No,
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
absolutely not. Moody just seems to be a favorite of Nick Foles too. So I wouldn't honestly, if you have Anthony Miller rostered, just drop him at this point. He's not worth even rostering to me. So it's Mooney.
This might be the first time that I'm agreeing with you guys.
Oh, clean sweep.
But don't get me wrong, I was close for me. I almost went Miller, but I really thought about it, and Mooney's definitely the upside play. I feel that Miller is going to be involved tonight. Unfortunately, I have to start him just because of injuries and other circumstances.
Desperate
So
times.
I have to play Miller. So I have to play him. So I was almost going to go with him just because I was playing him. But nonetheless, if I had a choice, if I had both of these guys, if I'm looking for the upside play, is Mooney. Just because I feel like he obviously shown a connection with Nick Foles last game. And he looks good. He looks really good. And then I wasn't a big Mooney guy going into the season, but the past couple of games, he's impressed me. So Mooney's definitely the upside play. I'm gonna go with him.
Yeah, and when you're going for that type of play, you don't want to play it safe. You want to play the lottery ticket. You want to get the guy that's going to be able to make your day with one play, and I definitely see that with Mooney over Miller. So right now we don't have any more questions in the chat, so we will go on to a couple of things that we feel like, and what we've done in the past is we've gone through my 10 things to know about the current week article and hit on all 10 things. And what we're going to do from now on is we're going to concentrate more on 4 or 5 of the issues and do a little bit of a deeper dive and ones that we feel are more that are going to be better to able help the audience out. So the first one that we're going to dive into is with Austin Ekeler out, is Josh Kelly going to be able to carry the load? And we're going to start off with you, Troy.
I would say that I feel he's going to be able to carry the load, but I would temper expectations. I don't think he's going to win you a week. I think he's going to be decent. Like, he's going to be a good fill-in running back for you if you need him. His best week was, I believe, it was week 2 when he had 23 rushes. I don't see him getting that rush share. I think he's going to be the favorite. He's going to get the majority of the work. But Justin Jackson, he's going to be very involved, and I think he projects more to be involved in the passing game. And we've seen Kelly not really be involved in the passing game that much the past couple weeks. So I feel like he's definitely, you could do much worse than Kelly. I think he'll be just fine. And hopefully you're hoping that he gets into the end zone. And I feel that Herbert's going to have to rely on him. He's the full-time starter now. So he's going to be used, but I'm not super excited. I'm tempering expectations because I feel like I was really excited after that big week. And then the past 2 weeks, it's like, Ekeler I know was involved, but I'm going to not get too excited. But he's a fine play if you need to use him.
Sure. Yeah, and it seems like today everybody needs a running back with all the injuries and everything.
Exactly. So beggars can't be choosers.
Right, exactly. You could do a lot worse.
Right.
What do you think, Dan? You think Kelly can carry the load?
I think that he's pretty much Malcolm Brown right now. Like, he's going to get the work, he's going to get the volume to be successful, but I'm not sure if he can.
Please do not compare Josh Kelly to Malcolm Brown.
I just did.
That's blasphemous. But
that is not.
Continue.
Kelly's much better than Malcolm Brown. Oh, shout out to Gladys. That's my homie. Hey, Gladys, how you doing?
Gladys is awesome.
She is. What was I saying? Oh, so yeah, Malcolm Brown.
You had the terrible take that
it's not
comparable to Malcolm Brown.
Yeah. So if he can get the receiving work, we don't know exactly how it's going to be distributed between him and Justin Jackson. So I think we have to wait a little while. If he can up his efficiency, he'll be good. But I'm not sure how much of a leash he's going to get before the coaches turn to Jackson. That the coaches know what they have with him over Kelly.
Yeah, and Anthony Lynn seems like the old school kind of guy that as soon as you start fumbling ball, you lose carries, because I watched both the past 2 games, and as soon as he fumbled the ball, he definitely stopped getting the touches. And I'm kind of in the middle. I definitely think that he's going to be able to carry the load. Like I said earlier, he's coming off 2,000-yard seasons from UCLA, and he was already with 40% of the touches before Ekeler went down. I think it's going to be a 60-40 split. I think Kelly's going to be more of the Melvin Gordon role that's traditional in this offense, and Justin Jackson is going to be the the Eckler role just not get as much of the goal line work that Eckler was getting. Even before Eckler went down, Kelly was getting the majority of the goal line touches. He led the team in goal line carries, so he's getting. I feel like he's going to get the first and second down work. He's going to get the glory of the red zone touches, and I think that those two things combined, I think he can be a solid running back too. And if he's able to fall in the end zone a few times, he can definitely put up solid days. A little bit of a tougher matchup this week against the Saints, but after this week, his schedule opens up tremendously. And I think that right now, after this week, if he does have a bad game against the Saints, he's somebody that might be a buy low target. People think that he's not going to be able to pull it off. So next, we're going to go to my dumpster fire of a favorite team, the New York Football Giants. They have been brutal this year. I am not afraid to admit that because I would be lying otherwise. But is there any fantasy value left in this offense? Dan, I know how much you hate the Giants, so let's hear what you have to say.
When I think about 2-3 weeks ago, I think I called this when we're talking about Daniel Jones, and you said, "Oh no, it's going to be fine, without Barkley." They still have Slayton. They still have Ingram. It's going to be great. It's not. It's not going to be great. Barkley's the entire offense, as I said, and without him, they're complete and utter garbage. And if you're forced to start them, they might give you some garbage time points, but I wouldn't. If I had a choice, I wouldn't touch any of them.
What you think, Troy?
I would say that. Okay, so the only people you're going to be looking at, they're even relevant. You have Slayton, Ingram, Freeman. Freeman actually didn't look that bad in the passing game last week. I'm not excited about Freeman. Don't get me wrong. This is not someone I'm saying he's a must-start guy. But running backs, especially in this environment, are hard to come by. Beggars can't be choosers. And also, not only are we dealing with COVID stuff, we're also dealing with bye weeks coming up. It's a disaster. So you need running backs, and Freeman's the starter. He was involved in the passing game. So if you're desperate, you can use him in a flex or a fill-in running back. So I would use him if you need to, if you're desperate. Slayton, I like Slayton as just a wide receiver. I feel like he's still going to be really involved. He hasn't really done much the past couple of weeks, but I wouldn't give up on him just yet. Ingram, I've been down on Evan Ingram for a while, even going into the season. The injuries have been consistent, but he's still healthy, and he got 10 targets last week. So he's still involved in the offense, but he hasn't done anything with those targets. So
he shot some pretty bad drops too. So
yeah, and tight end also is garbage. The position is garbage. So another scenario where beggars can't be choosers. So there's not many better options than a tight end that's getting 10 targets a game. I mean, he's not averaging that, but anyone who's getting 10 targets, you can't just ignore.
Pay attention when a tight end gets 10 targets.
Exactly. So I say that you can focus on those three. I'm not recommending any of them, but you gotta take advantage of the players you have because again, we're losing people to injuries, COVID, and bye weeks. So you have to keep those guys in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys know me well enough that I'm able to play with my head and not with my heart. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Giants fan, but I do think there is some fantasy value. And it's not, like you said, I feel a little nauseous saying that because it definitely, it's ugly. But even before Barkley got hurt, everybody, if you looked at the schedule, their first 4 games were brutal against the defenses, against the Steelers, the Rams, the Bears, and the 49ers. All 4 of them ranked top 10 in points per game, top 13 in yards allowed per game. So it was pretty rough. Throw on top of that a new system with the Clapper as offensive coordinator, and then losing Barkley. There's a lot that they're having to deal with. The schedule opens up tremendously starting this week. And just to elaborate what you were saying, Troy, Ingram is averaging 7.5 targets a game. He's on the field 90% of the snaps. This defense is abysmal, so there's going to be a lot of positive game scripts for this offense. I think that, like you were saying, Dan, garbage time counts just the same. So I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think you're going to be thinking through 3 quarters, why the heck did I start these guys? And then you're going to get some ugly when the defense just goes in soft coverage mode and just lets them get, that's where Evan Ingram and Golden Tate can shine. And, you still got Sterling Shepard coming back. So I do think there is some potential for, especially with bye weeks and the COVID madness going on, that you could do a lot worse with the schedule opening up. And as bad as the Giants' defense is, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for them to have to play catch up. So moving on, talking about another big disappointment so far this season. You guys think Kenyon Drake is toast? Troy, we're going to start with you on this one. That is the collective breath of all the Kenyon Drake owners across fantasy.
What's funny is I'm actually not a Kenyon Drake owner. I had him, I did draft him, but I traded him in a league as part of a package to get Zeke. So I'm very happy I did. And it's hard to say a running back's toast when they're getting 20 opportunities. And here's the thing. He's looked Edmonds is the preferred guy you almost want. He's way more targeted and involved in the
a lot better too.
He's just looked better. Kenyon Drake hasn't looked great. I don't know. I don't think they're using him in a great way.
Hasn't been great. They keep. He's the type of guy you want to run straight down the middle, and they keep. I saw the play calls for this past week. They keep trying to do sweeps with him and stuff like that, and that's not him.
I think you can mix it up a bit. I feel you can be more creative with him, and I just don't know why he's not more involved in the passing game. I think that's really perplexing to me. So he's not toast. Any running back that's getting about 20 touches isn't toast, but you're going to have to, if you drafted him high. So you probably don't have any better options. So you're going to have to play him, but he better show something quick because you're not going to bench him, but my expectations have been significantly lowered.
The problem too is Kyler Murray's calling his own number on the goal line. So excuse me, and man, some of those moves he's making out there is just ridiculous. I love watching. So I think that's taken away from his production. And if he doesn't start to look better, they're going to start giving more touches to Edmonds. He's getting out targeted 17-5 through 4 games. That's why everybody was so excited about Drake after last year, because he was getting everything. He was getting the targets, he was getting the rushing attempts, and it's not happening this year. So what do you think, Dan?
I don't think he's burnt toast, but it's like a light toasting right now. I think that
you get the knife, and if you burn it a little bit, you just get a little bit of that extra off there, make it look like it's all right.
Not quite like trash worthy, but he's getting there. I mean, he already got 70% of the touches so far this year, and he really hasn't done much with them. I mean, you have guys behind him in Edmonds and even the rookie Benjamin that hasn't even played yet. So it's not like they don't have options. His lack of targets in the passing game is a huge concern. And even to your point with the goal line carry, with Kyler stealing most of the goal line work, it's just there isn't a lot to be excited about. Right. And if he continues down this path for another week or two, no matter how high you drafted him, I mean, people are going to be having to look at other options.
Yep, absolutely. Before we move on to the next one, we got a question from my guy Marty. When you get a second, I'd like to know thoughts on Isaiah Ford. Is he worth a shot to start this week? I have a personal grudge against Isaiah Ford because I feel like he is taking the targets away from
Preston Williams.
Preston Williams.
Bring him up. Preston Williams.
I know how much I love Preston Williams, but I still love him long term. It's just not happening yet. He's having a hard time recovering from that ACL. But who's Miami play this week? I don't remember.
San Francisco.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a decent matchup, I'd say Isaiah Ford's a decent play. But, man, San Francisco's got a tough defense, even with their injuries. Like I was saying earlier, they're still top 10 in points allowed. They're still top 13 in yards allowed per game. I think he's somebody that, especially with bye weeks coming up, and we all know COVID isn't going away, I think he's somebody that you could potentially play in deeper leagues as a flex, but I would stay away from him this week. What you guys think?
I'll take this. So I told you so. Preston Williams is garbage. He hasn't performed.
Not garbage. He's just starting slow.
He's pretty bad. He's not doing nothing. Ford is out targeting him. More catches. He's scoring more. I mean,
4 games in the season, and he's coming off an ACL. So
that's what I said before. I mentioned the ACL thing before, but you're like, nah, it's going to be fine.
Through 2 games this year, Preston Williams was tied on the team for targets. So it's not like
What happened the other 2 games?
We're not. I'm talking about 2 games. Okay,
I have
so
2 games.
it's still early. I think by the end of the season, Preston's going to be back to full strength. He's more of a long term play. I will admit when I was wrong, and I was wrong. I thought Preston Williams would be able to just turn it on, and it's not quite happening yet. Hopefully, when our guy Tua takes over, whenever we see that is, but that's another subject for just a little bit.
As for Marty's question, I would definitely start him over Anthony Miller. Even though he is facing the 49ers, I think that he's doing too well in that offense, and Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick shows that.
Yeah, exactly.
Fitzpatrick or if it's Fitzmagic.
Yeah,
he does. As soon as you start depending on him, he falls on his face, and then when everybody counts him out, he pulls out the Deshaun Jackson jacket and the gold chain, and just turns into another human being. What you think, Troy? This is a perfect question for you, our resident Dolphins fan for the day. So,
oh yeah. So it's funny because I've actually warmed up to Isaiah Ford. I remember when everybody was talking about Lynn Bowden trade and how he's going to be starting in the slot, and I was like, man, that ain't going to happen. So Isaiah Ford, I wish he was a better matchup. Compared to Anthony Miller, I would say none of them have that much upside. But I guess I would go with Isaiah just because, like you guys said, Fitzpatrick, he slings it. I feel like they're going to need to play catch up. So because of that, I'm going to go with Isaiah. I'll go with Isaiah Ford over Anthony Miller in this particular case. I'm not excited about either, but give me
hey, like you said, sometimes beggars can't be choosers. So,
right.
Well, it's a perfect segue into our next topic. We're going to start with you, Troy. I know you got a lot to say about this. Is Tua time close?
So I was thinking about this hard because I was frustrated. I'm like, why haven't we seen Tua? There was actually a report a couple of days ago about how Brian Flores was saying how he doesn't think that Tua is ready to start. And that says a lot. I mean, obviously, as a huge fan, I got a Tua jersey, got everything. I've been excited. I've been waiting for this moment for a very long time. I'm a huge Tua guy. But obviously, everyone knows about his hip. His hip is infamous at this point. Yep. And they're sitting him for a reason. I don't know if it's because they're worried about the offensive line. I don't know if they're worried about his hip. It seems like he's been cleared by all the doctors. He seems like he's healthy and ready to go. Or maybe he's just not as prepared as we think he is. There's a reason, or maybe they're just trying to protect their long-term investment. I don't know, but if I had to guess, it makes more sense to start him in a soft matchup. You don't want to start him against the 49ers. Even though they're not as good as they have been, with all the injuries that they had, that's not a good matchup. What is a good matchup is later in the season, they actually play the Jets back-to-back. It's weird how the schedule works. So they play the Jets, they have a bye, and they play the Jets again. I don't get it. I don't know who made the schedule, but if you're going to play him, it would make sense with that soft matchup there. So that's what I anticipate we're actually going to see him actually start a game.
Dan, what do you think? I know we've had this discussion a little bit earlier in the season.
Yeah.
For you at all?
I think that I kind of agree with Troy in the sense that if he's not ready, you shouldn't start him. If he's not 100% healthy, you shouldn't start him. I mean, you drafted him with the idea that he was going to be your franchise QB. So unless everything is 100%, you don't start him. There's no reason in a lost season. You're obviously not going to go anywhere this year. So wait till your offensive line's better. Wait till everyone's healthy, and then start him. So there's no point, I feel like, unless you want to get him some game experience, but then you pick a soft matchup like the Jets, with how Troy pointed out. But otherwise, I mean, I would just staple him to the bench and not unwrap him until next year.
Yeah, and I've gone back and forth a few times on this subject. Preseason, I was thinking there's no way that they're going to start him this year. Just redshirt him, let him get healthy with that devastating injury. But the way that Fitzpatrick looked those first couple of games, like we talked about a few weeks ago, Dan, I think all Fitzpatrick has to do is just not be abysmal, not have those 140-yard, three pick games, and I think they'll just ride him through the rest of the season. And one thing that really concerns me too, Tua hasn't been tackled yet. Literally, since his injury at Alabama, he hasn't been tackled. How are you going to throw in a rookie with a devastating hip injury into the NFL with not being tackled in however many months. Like, so that tells me too that he's not close. But then on the other hand, like, Flores felt the need this week to clarify that Fitzpatrick is still the starter. So to me, that makes me think that they're thinking about it. So I am really thanks. Kyle made me laugh over there talking about how the facial hair game is strong, except for me. Which, yes, I do have a baby face. I admit I can't. If I tried to grow a mustache, it would not be pretty. So I don't even attempt it. But sorry, that made me chuckle. But yeah, I've been really torn on the subject. I honestly don't know. I mean, I feel like they're talking out of both sides of their mouths. And if excuse me, if I had to put money on it, I think he does play this year. I think it's going to be towards the end of the year, like they did with Mahomes, a game, maybe two. Maybe they do decide, they want to get him some games, like you said, against the Jets. That'd be a good soft landing spot. But I just feel like until you see him, get tackled in practice, I just don't see how you can throw him out there.
100% agree. Like the tackle thing definitely concerns me, but as a fan, I just want to see my future. Come on, Tua, be healthy, play. I need you, buddy. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another caveat. As long as he's 100% healthy, then if he's anything less than 100%, if it's 99.99, you don't put him out
You'll
there.
risk it.
I agree.
What's going on, Mike?
Mike, my dude, what up, bro?
Yeah, good dude. And we got from Troy, from Marty. Said you brought the women on this week, so that mustache, man, they all wanted to see that Steve Harvey stack.
Yeah, there ain't no women around me. Except my wife.
There you go. Smart man. Happy wife, happy life.
Good answer.
So last subject we're going to go over is the Rams backfield. We all touched on it earlier. Dan, do you think that anybody's going to emerge from this backfield?
I think that if healthy, Akers should. There's a reason you drafted him as high as you did. But it's Sean McVay, and as we mentioned before, he does what he wants. He doesn't listen to any of us. So
worked out for him some, and it's not turned out so well in the Super Bowl. So
exactly. So it should be Akers, but with in that situation, you can't tell for sure.
What you think, Troy?
I think the best looking running back on the year, and maybe it's a caveat because Akers was healthy week one. Henderson has by far looked the best to me, but kind of like Dan was saying, there's a reason you drafted him when you drafted him in the second round. He should be the guy. He should take over. I don't know how long it's going to take for him to fully recover from his injury. So not only has he had to be fully healthy, which he should be playing, but then he has to get it back up to game speed, So I feel like by the end of the season, I see it being Akers, but man, we can't everyone left Henderson for dead. But when he's been healthy and he's gotten the opportunity, he's looked really good to me. So I'll say it's going to be Akers, but we can't knock Henderson. And Malcolm Brown is going to be there and be annoying. So
yeah, I think McVay wants it to be Akers, but also, it was reported all offseason that he's going to have a committee. And we haven't really got to see it in full force because every game this season, one of the guys has been hurt. So I think we really need to just kind of sit back and see what happens, especially, have a couple games that they're all in there. And they've all Akers hasn't had a chance to, but Henderson and both Brown have produced. So I think if it's working, it also could be too that McVay sees all the injuries around and doesn't want to overwork any one guy. So he's got three capable running backs. They're winning games. Why take a chance?
100% agree.
So we're going to move on to Dan's rookie power rankings. Normally we go through what we've done in the past is go through each one and talk about who's moved around, but we're gonna concentrate on the risers and fallers here. We're gonna take each one. We got three of each. I'm gonna start us off with Justin Jefferson. We broke out in week 3 with a 7-catch, 175-yard touchdown performance, and he followed up week 4 with another 100 yards. He gets to play the Seahawks this week, who rank dead last in total yards per game, and they're giving up 27 points. Dead last in total yards and total passing yards per game. I think he's finally getting comfortable, in that Stephon Diggs role. The only thing that slightly concerns me about this week is Kirk Cousins is in prime time, and it is well documented that he struggles in prime time. So even though the matchup is great and he's lucky, maybe it's different without fans. I'm not sure if Seattle's going to have anybody in the stadium, but even if they do, it won't be like it normally is. Jefferson, I completely agree. I think Jefferson right now deserves to be at the top of this rookie list so far. He's that type of guy that you look for that can lead you to a championship if he keeps this up. He's that lottery ticket that right now he's producing wide receiver 2 numbers. I completely agree with him moving up, and I think that he's headed for a great season. I think I saw today that he's on pace to break Odell Beckham's rookie record for yardage.
All right, that'd be impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not bad company at all.
So we got Justin Herbert for you, Troy. What do you think?
I would say I am just a new fan on the Justin Herbert bandwagon. So the past three games in 6-point per touchdown leagues, he's put up 25, 15, and 30 points respectively. I am just, like I reiterated earlier, man, I've been so impressed with his performance. I thought he was going to be hot garbage, but he's looked great throwing the ball, especially throwing the ball deep. He seems to be cool under pressure. They haven't been winning games, but he's looked great for a rookie, and you can't deny that. And he has a tough matchup this week against the Saints, and he might struggle, early in the game, but also I'm banking on garbage time. I feel like he's looked good having to throw the ball, and I think he's going to add a little bit of rushing. I'm hoping to see a little bit more. I'm hoping he's hit like 15 yards or so per game. I'm hoping we could see like between 20 and 30. That's what I would be really happy, and that's when we're really going to see that bump in fantasy points. So I'm super excited about him. And the fact that Anthony Lynn finally came out and finally said what we all knew already, that he was going to be the starter, even though they stabbed Tyrod. I hate the way they did him.
I feel bad because I like Tyrod, and he just feels like everywhere he goes, something like this happens.
I feel bad.
I hope Anthony Lynn was just hedging his bets by saying that, because if, by the time he healed, if Herbert fell on his face, then he wouldn't have to bench him and, shatter his confidence and saying you're getting benched because, you've done terrible. He was a starter anyways, but now you can't bench Herbert the way he's playing.
So great, and I think he's going to continue doing this thing. And I'm like actually I'm trying to decide if I'm going to play him or Matt Ryan. And I feel like I'm probably going to go Matt Ryan, but the fact that I'm even having that conversation.
Well, it depends if Julio plays too, man. And
that's a big factor.
Julio doesn't play too awful, so. If you said before the season you were debating Week 5 starting Justin Herbert and Matt Ryan, you wouldn't have believed it.
Exactly.
It's 2020 for you. Mm-hmm. All right, Dan, so you got Antonio Gibson. What do you think about him?
So Gibson has led the backfield in carries for 3rd week in a row. He got 13 carries, 46 yards last game. But what impressed me the most is his passing game numbers. He caught 4 balls for 82 yards and chipped in a rushing touchdown. I think that if you can get that kind of work, especially in the passing game in PPR, then I think he's the type of guy that you can plug into your flex or running back too and feel pretty good about. Washington's going to be behind in a bunch, if not all games this year, because they're pretty terrible. And with the switch in quarterback to Kyle Allen, it's interesting to see if he can use Gibson more as a check down and he can rack up those PPR points.
Yeah, absolutely. And Troy, we got a little advice from the chat from Nate. He's saying he'd play Herbert over Ryan this week.
Boy, Nate, what's up, Nate? And I think the whole Julio thing is a big factor. I feel like if Julio plays, I'm gonna go Ryan. If he doesn't play, I'm gonna go Herbert.
Yeah, I think that's on that. The only thing though, too, man, there's been plenty of games where Julio's just been a decoy, and the way that he went out there and got hurt again.
Oh, it's so hard.
I might lean Herbert here, but it makes it a lot easier if Julio doesn't play. If he plays, it's a much tougher decision. So those are the rookie risers for the week. Next, we're going to move on to the fallers and Dan's rookie ranks. This one hurts me because I'm a big fan, but there's no denying the shine has wore off just a little bit on Jonathan Taylor. And it's not because he's not producing, but they're inexplicably giving carries to not only Nyheim Hines, but Wilkins as well. I just maybe like I was saying with Sean McVay, maybe they see all the injuries of these running backs and are just wanting to kind of to spread around the carries to not overwork anybody. But he's not getting the bell cow treatment, and he's got a really tough matchup. The Browns defense is only giving up 3.5 yards per rush, only giving up 114 rushing yards per game, and only 4 total touchdowns on the ground so far this season. The 10th fewest fantasy points to running backs. I don't think it's going to get better here. Now, I do think that this is a perfect buy low window. If anybody is really worried about Taylor long term, buy him everywhere you can, because that schedule does lighten up a little bit. And I do think they're not going to keep the Corvette in the garage for the Toyota Camry all season. I think that they're going to let as the season goes on, I think they're going to start leaning on Taylor more. This team, they have a really good defense, and Phillip Rivers at this point in his career is more of a game manager than somebody who's, especially with all the injuries to Paris Campbell and Pittman and the ghost of T.Y. Hilton out there in the field. He's not who he used to be. They're going to win with defense, and they're going to win with running the ball. So I do think that as the season goes on, Taylor's going to get more work, and the buy low window is open. It's not going to be open for long, but if you can get them now. And we're going to go on to Dan. You've got J.K. Dobbins as a faller. Fill us in on why.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Gus Edwards is tearing my heart out. I'm a big J.K. Dobbins fan. I thought he was dynamic in college. And when they drafted him, I thought he was going to eventually take over for Ingram and even get some carries later on in the year. But Edwards, to Troy's point, is looking like, the better back right now. And some reports are saying Dobbins is even third in the pecking order now. So you can't do anything with that as of right now. But hopefully going on towards later on in the season, you can see why they drafted him and hopefully give him some more work.
Yeah, I think dynasty-wise, I think Dobbins has one of the high ceilings, especially in this offense. But right now, in redraft and just in leagues in general, you can't start him. He's unstartable. As much as it pains me to say, I'd start a Myles Gaskin over him. I mean, at least he's getting to work. I think talent-wise, he can run circles around Gaskin, but for some reason, the Dolphins keep giving that guy the ball. So. With the last faller we've got is Brandon Ayuk. Troy, let us know what you think.
So with Brandon Ayuk, I feel like he's made the most of his opportunities. He's had a rushing touchdown the past 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, he had 8 targets, so I was like, ooh, that's pretty impressive. But they're slowly starting to get healthier. And I feel like, especially with Debo coming back, Ayuk has been used in the Debo role. And Debo, to me, is still better in that role than Ayuk. Ayuk's still a rookie. He's great. He's been very impressive. He's extremely athletic. But I just don't know how many more opportunities he's going to get for the remainder of the season. As well as and Kittle's back, so Kittle's going to still have the majority of the target share. You have McKinnon, who's going to be pass catching out of the backfield. Mostert's eventually going to come back. And you just can't rely on him he's not going to get a rushing touchdown every single week. That's why he's been relevant, honestly. So there's nothing to get creative with him. If you're in a deeper league, I would be more than happy to start him. But at the same time, I just feel with everyone coming back, his opportunities are going to be a little bit more limited. And I just feel like it's going to be hard to trust every single week, and it's going to be hard to find that consistency every single week with him.
Absolutely. Kittle's back, and the running backs are getting healthy, and I completely agree. I think I like him long term, and it took Debo, half the season to really get comfortable. And I think that Shanahan having both of those guys that can pretty much do it all on the field is exciting for the 49ers fan long term. But I agree. I think it's going to be hard for him to produce consistently the rest of the year. So we're going to move on to tonight's game. Not necessarily as bad as last week, but I got to say, especially with Godwin out, I'm not too excited about this matchup. But nonetheless, we do have a couple sleepers. Troy, who do you have for a sleeper for us? Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get to that, we have a question from Marty. Are Gibson and Scary Terry starters all year regardless of the defensive matchup? I think Scary Terry is. I think he's to that point. We still have to see what happens with Kyle Allen under center. But, I mean, as I do think that Dwayne Haskins got done dirty. I don't understand why they're moving on. I think, you need to go the whole year and see what you got and see if he's the answer. If he's not and he stinks, okay, then you get a better pick, you lose games, and you move on. But Kyle Allen isn't a long-term answer. But that's here nor there. I think Scary Terry is. Gibson, it still scares me that he only got limited touches in college. So I'm worried that he's going to be able to hold up long-term. I'm coming around. He's produced. And if they keep giving him the touches, as long as he's able to stay healthy, he is showing. I don't think he's a must-start yet, no matter the matchup. But I do think, the way that the running back position looks fantasy-wise, you could definitely do a lot worse. I'd rather him than a Myles Gaskin or J.K. Dobbins or Malcolm Brown. So I wouldn't say he's a must-start regardless, but he's definitely somebody that can produce out of the running back 2 position. What do you think, Troy?
I have to say, yeah, man. It's funny. The reason why I'm saying this is because I have a lot of good options in one of my leagues, and I benched both of them last week, and they both went off on my bench. And I have really good options. And not I just bench them just to bench them, but that trust me, I'm a victim of sitting them. So don't be like Troy and sit them. But I am more than happy. I say that there starts regardless of the matchup.
Dan, we can't hear you. Pull your mic up. See if
Hear me now?
Yep, we hear you.
Yeah, okay. I agree with Troy. I think they both start regardless of matchup. I think Kyle Allen, the only reason Kyle Allen's even starting is because he knows Ron Rivera's offense. So I think that's definitely a plus for Terry's numbers. And Gibson, if he keeps getting the work he's been getting, with running back being almost a graveyard right now for fantasy football, I mean, you had to start him.
And all you've heard all off season was how that he reminds them of CMC. So if he gives them that type of production, gives them that type of role in the offense, the sky's the limit. So we are going to tweak our Call Your Shot segment. Previously we've done where we have a really deep sleeper with a point threshold. Now we're just going to kind of make it where it's a little more fantasy relevant, where it could potentially help somebody versus just being something fun that we're doing. So it's basically just going to be pick a guy that you like a little more than most and give a bold prediction for him. Right now, Dan is up 2-1. Last week, it was running back of 15 points or more who does not currently rank in the top 20. Ray, our guest last week, picked Kenyon Drake, and we all know what happened with Kenyon Drake. That was a big no. I picked J.K. Dobbins, which we've trashed the whole show, so obviously he was no. And Dan got lucky with a pick and went with Ronald Jones, and he is now up 2-1. So, Troy, if you don't know, we're doing this for the whole year for every show. And then whoever is the winner at the end of the year gets to design the avatar for the loser, and they have to keep it through the playoffs, through the Super Bowl.
I love it.
Yeah. So I'm sure mine's going to have to do with something with J-Jaw, if that's the case. And Dan's probably will have Eli Manning, if I had to say. But we'll see what happens. So for this week, I'm going to go with Teddy Bridgewater. I think the matchup is good for him. I think that that abysmal Falcons defense, like I said, gives up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. I'm going to go big. They have given up 4 touchdowns to the quarterback position every game this season, including the combination of Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. So I'm going to say that Teddy Bridgewater gets 4 total touchdowns and over 300 yards.
Damn.
Bold.
Yep. To say that about Teddy Two Gloves, I think that's pretty bold. So who you got first, Troy?
I got the one and only Todd Gurley. I'm calling my shot that he's going to be an RB1 this week.
That's bad to say, but that is bold.
That's bold. Look, don't get me wrong. I watched the game. He's slow. He's slow. So I'm not saying that he's all of a sudden going to turn into the Todd Gurley of old, but I love his touchdown. Look, one thing Todd Gurley does is score touchdowns. When they're at the goal line, they've been giving him the ball. He's just had a 2-touchdown game. So I just feel that in this game script, Carolina, they allow the 4th most points to the running back position. So they aren't a good they're not a good rushing defense. So, and it's already been proven that you can run all over them. So I think that Atlanta, they're going to. We've already known that they haven't been good. They've given up leads and all that. So one way of not giving up leads is controlling the ball by rushing. They've been passing like crazy, so and they showed that they were dedicated to the run last game. So I feel that Todd Gurley, he didn't look great. He looked slow, but look, he got into the end zone, which is what they need, and they were trying to control the ball more instead of just slinging all over the place. So I see him going into the end zone. That's calling my shot. Todd Gurley, RB1. I'm cool if I'm wrong. Look, guys, it's a call your shot, but Todd Gurley, RB1.
We don't want to be boring. We gotta do something bold.
For me, I'm going to go with T. Higgins, actually. I think he's going to get his first 100-yard receiving day. I think over the past couple of weeks, he's kind of sort of been supplementing A.J. Green in the pecking order there. I know it's a really tough matchup against Baltimore, and they might get blown out, but even if it's garbage time, throw some deep shots to him. Tyler Boyd on his side, absolutely, still counts. And I think he gets his first 100-yard receiving day this week.
And I think, too, it was very symbolic that they gave him 85. That's a very special number in Cincinnati for Ocho Cinco. Did you guys see the video of Ocho Cinco and Carson Palmer getting together?
Yeah.
I didn't see that video.
Yeah, you need to check it out. Apparently, I guess that Carson Palmer is like a mountain man. He lives out, I think, I don't remember where, but it shows Chad Johnson talk about how cold it is, and then he pans back, and you got Carson Palmer there. So it was cold, and they hug, and it was very cool. So check it out if you haven't seen that yet. So that's going to do it for us. We just got a couple other quick things. Troy, I meant to do this earlier. We want to start doing so we can get to know everybody a little better. Give us a little something interesting about you that everybody may not know.
So in college, I actually used to rap. So me and my friends, we used to rap, and we were pretty popular in terms of. I'm not gonna rap on air, so I'm not gonna do that. But I might, send a video link out or something. But we got a couple YouTube,
things. Man. I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but I got to see something.
Brian, I ain't gonna do it, man. I ain't gonna do it.
Not now.
It ain't that special.
Maybe you can DM me a link.
I might show some videos, but we used to do like local shows and things like that. But I used to be bad in college, but I did my thing. So that's not. I don't think the fantasy community knows that. I think that's the first time I admitted that.
I haven't heard
That's awesome. Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news.
No, I don't think I told anybody else in the fantasy community that.
By a stage name, or are you just Troy King?
Just Troy King. I'll try to think of a cool stage name, but my name's already kind of cool.
No, that works, man.
Yeah, that's a cool name.
Not being cocky, but I've been told that. So.
No, definitely. Completely agree. And thank you, everybody who's telling us great show. We're trying to get better each week. If there's anything that you see that we're doing that you like, that you don't like, let us know. First and foremost, we want this to be where we answer questions. That's why if we're in the middle of something, we stop. We're answering your questions. We want this to be, hanging out, a start sit right before games kick off. So feel free, ask as many questions as you want. If you want us to dive a little deeper into the questions, you'll see on Twitter, we usually on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, we throw out a thread saying, ask your questions. So if you throw them on there, we can be prepared and dig a little deeper, and you get first priority. So two more things. Say this every week. If you have a guy that's playing tonight, get him out of your flex position. You want to make sure that you put them in either running back, wide receiver, or tight end. You want to give yourself, especially with who knows what's going to happen with these COVID games, you want that extra flexibility at the at the flex position. And as we always talk about at the end of every show, Dan and I made our choices long ago. We believe that Michael Jordan is the GOAT, and he is better than LeBron James. So Troy, let's get your answer, and let's see if we're going to invite you back on the show, if you give us the right answer or not.
I would have to agree. I think Jordan is still. I think that people still hate on LeBron too much. I'm a big LeBron guy, but I'm not going to say he's better than Michael Jordan. But people, I think, disrespect him a little too much. But Michael Jordan's still a GOAT.
Yep. We were having a conversation, and somebody said that the stars of the 90s would be in the G League right now. And that just
No, I don't know who said that, but I don't think they know basketball.
Yeah,
That makes
they definitely just watched Sports Center highlights and not actually watched the rough and tumble '90s. Man, it's definitely a different game.
the
You know,
G League, though. Come on, man.
Just disrespectful, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. Nah.
Well, Troy, you got anything else for us?
I don't got anything else, man. Just again, I'll reiterate. I'm a co-host for Fantasy Football Confidential with Linda G, John Bauer, Mitch Sorensen. We stream every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and Periscope. Pod comes out the next day, so check us out. Appreciate the support. I'm gonna be writing soon. I haven't decided the site that I'm gonna be writing for yet, but stay tuned. I'll announce it eventually. But I appreciate everybody's love and support, man. And just thank you for everyone showing me love and rock with me.
Yeah, man, I gotta say it's really been impressive. Where I think we were in a chat together, just a general fantasy football chat, and that was before you decided to jump in, and you've blown up, man. And I think a lot of it has to do with your positive attitude, man. In the world we live in today, people disagree about something and they go at each other's throats, and everybody, tell each other you're a terrible person, and all you do is put positivity out there. And that's why I really think that people gravitate towards that. And it's really nice to see, somebody who's a good person that obviously your football, how fast you're growing, man. So it's awesome to see, that, we're a couple months ago where you were just like most of us started, just another guy on Twitter, just talking football with people. And then, man, you're one of the biggest names out there right now. So it's just awesome to see.
No, I appreciate it. And before we go, man, I just put this quick note out is that one of the things that got me really into the space was Scott Fishbowl. And Jay, I remember I'm in the satellite, so I wasn't cool enough to be in the actual one. But I was in the satellite too. But I was in the satellite, and then Jay actually is the one that gave me he actually tweeted me and he said that gave me advice about trying to find a group of the people who are my draft position. So I'll never forget that, because that made me proactively reach out, find the group. That helped me meet people. And then from there, I just kind of took over and did my thing. But that piece of advice was very crucial in terms of where I'm at. So I always appreciate that about you.
Awesome, man. That's great. That really means a lot. I remember doing that. And that's what, to me, that's what's the most fun about the Scott Fishbowl is the relationship you make. And like you said, those chat, that's why I made sure to tell you that, whether it's a satellite, whether it's the Scott Fishbowl, those chats, those groups, those relationships, that's what it's all about. And of course, doing good and donating to a good cause, but growing, building relationships, I think that's the most fun. Marty's got a suggestion for you where you should go next. I think that's a pretty solid.
I agree.
It's definitely a good suggestion, man. I appreciate the suggestion for sure.
There you go. But you can find my stuff. I do a weekly start sit at Sleeper Wire. I also do the 10 things to know about the current week. That's going to drop tomorrow for week 5. And Dan also does his weekly rookie power ranks ongoing for 2. And that came out yesterday.
Yes, sir. It usually comes out on Tuesdays, but I was slacking this week.
Well, life gets in the way sometimes. It happens. So I appreciate everybody tuning in, and have a great night.